is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
Why, hello. It's nice to see you made it to your appointment to meet the Wicker Man. We're already here. You see, we're spending the week in Scotland tracking down some of the filming locations to this movie that came out in 1973, this haunting movie. We're gonna be visiting some filming locations that have never been seen before. For some reason, some people don't talk about some of the finer details, the intricacies of the Wicker Man. We're gonna be doing some Wicker Man shopping, but above all, you guys wanna see where they burned the Wicker Man? We're looking at it right now. Where we are walking to right now is where they actually burned the Wicker Man at the end of the movie. Well, one of the locations. They actually burned 2 Wicker Men here. This one was the full-size one. Now what's really cool about this, and this is extra special, because May 1st, the Beltane Festival, they actually put this together and burned it in the same exact spot as the one from the movie. Typically, you don't find this. I really wish that we can put like a scratch and sniff sticker on the screen so you can smell what I'm smelling. Burnt wood. You can see the char marks. I mean, they burned it, well, a couple of days ago. And it's still here. The plan is to keep this here on the cliffside as long as possible, at least till the wind or, you know, Mother Nature takes it away. Again, I really wish that you guys can smell what we're smelling right now. Very cool, very cool. Now the crazy thing about this, if this Wicker Man wasn't here, you can actually walk up and dig through the weeds and see where they actually dug the holes for the legs from the original Wicker Man. I will say this though, since they were out here burning the current Wicker Man, you can clearly see where the original legs once were. Here's one of the pits right here. You see it? Then the other one is partially covered by the metal of the other Wicker Man. Now I could be wrong about this, but when it comes to the movie, there were 4 Wicker Men. There was this one, which was the tall one. There was one a little further down the cliffside to the left, which was the close-up shots of it falling over at the end when you see the sunset. And then there was another one that they built on like the scaffolding, which really wasn't attached to the ground. And then there was another one that they didn't burn and that they actually used it out front of like one of the movie premieres. I guess technically this one isn't a Wicker Man, it's a Wicker Woman. We know that they were out here filming a documentary, which I really don't know anything about. So this is like the first I'm hearing about it, so I'm kind of curious to see what comes down the line. But they did have this big festival out here where people came and then they burnt this. Usually when you come out here, all that's here on the cliff is this plaque. It says, "The Wicker Man, welcome, you have kept your appointment at Burrowhead Holiday Village." This was the location for scenes from the film The Wicker Man, shot here during October and November 1972. The film was released in 1973 and starred Christopher Lee, Edward Woodward, Diane Cilento, Ingrid Pitt, and Britt Ekland. There's a really nice shot of it overlooking the coastline and the sunset. Now, of course, knowing us, we brought some of our own goodies to share on camera. The first one being this book called The Wicker Man, the official story of the film. It's a beautiful hardback book that is filled with behind-the-scenes pictures and stories. Some of them we're going to be using for this video, tracking down some of this stuff. I can't believe we're doing this. The next one being this beautiful poster from, you guessed it, The Wicker Man, and it's signed by Willow herself. Well, Britt Ekland, who played Willow. She was very, very nice. We met her at HorrorCon UK. She took a picture with us and she signed our poster, which usually hangs in our house. But we had to bring it all the way here to where they filmed The Wicker Man. How cool is this? Never thought in a million years that we would be standing where they made this hauntingly horrific, horrifying movie. I love it. I also wanted to point out that we're actually staying on site where they filmed The Wicker Man. The property is called the Woodward Holiday Park. It's basically a caravan park. You can come here and rent out a nice little like caravan or trailer, whatever you want to call it, and just kind of have fun. We've been here for a week in this area filming, and what's really fun about this, look at this. I'm a little bit of a daredevil. There are no guardrails here, no fences, but you can pretty much walk right up to the edge of everything. See the rocks down below, the cliffs? Now I point all this out because when the filmmakers were looking for a place to burn the Wicker Man, they wanted a place that was secluded, high up in the air, and where they can see the sunset. They had this vision in mind, and you know what? They accomplished it. It's a very, very memorable scene. All right, let's line up shots. Right now we're walking through the woods back to a place known as the St. Ninian's Cave, which is a very prominent filming location in the movie right before you get to the very, very end on the cliffs where they burned the Wicker Man. And talk about magical. No wonder they filmed this folk horror masterpiece here. As magical as these woods are, sadly, they were not in the movie The Wicker Man. This is just the path leading down to the beach where they filmed. This trail takes us down to the beach where they filmed what's supposed to be the sacrifice scene, where everybody's down on the beach and Christopher Lee is standing on top of the cart and he breaks open the barrels of wine and they spill into the sea. And then Howie sees Rowan Morrison. And then, well, he tries to save her. That's what we're looking for. I know we're kind of all over the place talking about these scenes. Usually whenever we do filming locations, we put them in order as if you're watching the movie. But we really wanted to show you this stuff first because they are cool as heckins. Everything else is just kind of like the cherry on top. Now keep in mind, 1973, this trail had to have looked a little bit different. Now, I mean, it's pretty clear cut going down through the woods, but in this scene, all of the cast and crew walked this same trail. And somehow they got a horse-drawn carriage, like a buggy, down here. I don't know how they did it, because it's very close, but they did. Well, it looks like we made it out of the woods because straight ahead is the ocean. And we know that the cave where they filmed is off to the right, so we are almost there. Well, we reached the end of the path. The path to St. Ninian's Cave is to the right, and Barrowhead and Isle of Whithorn to the left. Barrowhead is where we are actually staying for the week that we're here filming all this. I can hear the sounds of the ocean and it's so relaxing. After the May Day parade scene and the ceremony with the swords, you see the cast walking along this beach to the cave. And what's fun about this, you can see the rocks jutting out into the ocean over there. This is as close as we're going to get to the next shot, which is of the horse-drawn buggy that has the barrels of ale. You see everybody walking to it, and Christopher Lee gets on top, and he's got the axe, and he smashes them, spilling the ale into the sea for the gods. Pretty much all that really you can match up is that hillside over there. You can kind of see this little shelf right there, like that ledge, and then that right there. We are looking directly into the sun, so I'm hoping that this translates on camera.
Oh, God of the sea, I offer you this ale as a libation, that you may bestow upon us in the year to come.
But real quickly, this is also the famous scene where we get the shot of Lord Summerisle standing on top of the buggy with the axe. Just as he's about to break open the barrels of ale, you can kind of see like this close-up of him with that portion of the mountain, the cliff right behind him.
The rich and diverse fruits of your kingdom.
While this is happening, the villagers are watching, and we get a quick shot of this cliffside right here as they're chanting, "All hail, God of the sea."
Hail, God of the sea!
And then we get another iconic shot of Lord Summerisle from right about here.
And now, for our more dreadful sacrifice, to those who command the fruit of the earth.
Oh my word, just look at that. You see Jessica standing about the center of your screen at the entrance to the cave? Yes, we are going to go up there, but she's standing precisely where Rowan Morrison was standing when she appears.
Now don't be frightened. I'm a police officer. I've come to try and get you away.
Hey, Mr. Police! I don't like it here. They're coming.
And from about this angle right here, we see the villagers dressed with their masks, and they got the torches. And Sergeant Howie runs up there, again, dressed as the fool. So let's head up to the cave and talk about this scene. And just so you know, we're basically doing this blind. It is so bright. And at some points, we're actually looking directly into the sun. So I'm hoping that this all looks good. But it really is just all about the experience. Man, look at that. Again, it's not a deep cave, but it's unmistakable. Wow, right? 1972 is whenever they made the movie. It came out in 1973, but you can just imagine them here lining up the shots, making it happen. Let's go ahead and walk in. Just so you can see. So, Sergeant Howie grabs Rowan Morrison and they run into the cave, and we get like this running through the cave sequence. It's very dark. And then they appear at the cliffside that we just showed. You remember that hole, that man-made hole? That just, wow, all right, that got me. It was a bird. What is it with me walking into caves in Scotland and birds being in there? I should know at this point to look up before I walk in and make sure the birds are gone, because that genuinely scared me. I know, you guys are gonna laugh. I have this weird, abnormal fear of birds. The last time this happened, when we were here in Scotland filming, we hiked down a mountainside to visit the caves that inspired The Hills Have Eyes. I can hear the birds behind me. They're trying to get back in. They're not doing it because I'm here. We walked down this mountainside to get into the caves that inspired The Hills Have Eyes, and there was a bird in almost the same exact position, and it scared the crap out of me. This one did the same. So Scotland, you are 2 for 2. I'll be ready next time. All right, back to what we were talking about. So now we have Jessica standing at the back. Don't worry, baby girl, I protect you. There's no more birds in here. You are safe. See, I gladly put myself before everybody else. I could have sacrificed you. It's the Wicker Man after all. Now, Sergeant Howie and Rowan, they run through the cave system. This is the end of the cave. This is it. It's just for show. It's Hollywood. And then we get them emerging on the cliffside. Again, I know we're doing these filming locations out of order. I just really wanted you guys to see these 2 big locations, the cliffside where they burned the Wicker Man, as well as the caves. There's so much to see, and we're not gonna get them all. There's no way we're gonna get them all. You have to remember that when you do things like this, these adventures, especially in another country, you have to just kind of like take the time and let your experience be the story. This is amazing, 100%. Visiting the filming locations to the Wicker Man. But the fact that both Jessica and I are here creating memories, that's the real story, that's the real memory. And then there's that bird that keeps trying to get back in. All right, you can have the cave. I'm done. We can go home. We have to watch our footing so we don't topple over the cliff into the water. But right now we're making our way over to the man-made cave. And talk about beautiful. I'm hoping you guys can hear the sounds of the water. Right? Look at this. So unless you know what to look for, you're gonna miss this entirely. I mean, I've seen countless people come out here to do Wicker Man filming location videos, and they always forget to come over here. But you see that right there? It's not a hole, but it's a hole that production dug to make it look like whenever Rowan and Sergeant Howie come out of the cave, whenever he's rescuing her, they come out right there, and this is where the big secret is revealed.
I seem to have lost our torch-bearing friends.
I'm sorry. It was worse than I remembered it.
Jessica's walking down to get into position. She's getting inside the man-made cave now. And she's gone. Where's Jessica? Where's baby Goa? Can you see her? So Howie and Rowan would have been climbing out of the cave, well, the hole, just like that. Thinking they got away from their torch-carrying friends, and then they turn to run away, and that's whenever they see Christopher Lee, Lord Summerisle.
Did I do it right?
You did it beautifully! See how little Rowan.
When Sergeant Howie and Rowan emerge from the cave, they see Lord Summerisle sitting right here. Right next to him is Willow, and over here, standing to his right, is Ingrid Pitt's character. They stand up, and Lord Summerisle stretches out his arms, and Rowan runs into them. There's a very haunting shot looking up the hillside when Howie realizes, oh man, this is no good. And he sees all the townspeople standing up there with their animal masks on, watching him. It's haunting. It's terrifying is what it is. After that whole scene, they march up this hillside, and it may not seem like it, but it's a pretty steep hillside. And then they meet up with the townsfolk, and they're walking up to the Wicker Man. Look at that up there on the hillside. I know it's just a movie, but can you imagine being in Sergeant Howie's shoes and realizing that the entire time that you were the fool, that you were the one that they were looking for, and they march you up the hill and you realize what's about to happen.
Oh my God! Christ! No, no, dear God! No, Christ!
I feel like his response is pretty spot on for anybody. When they shot the movie, they set up a fake tree just like this one. There's actually behind the scenes photos of them putting it here. It's kind of cool to look at. Now, this typically is not here. They actually put it here for the documentary, but in the movie, they all walk past it on their way up to the burning of the Wicker Man. This is where we get some shots of all the different animals inside the Wicker Man. But then there's a spot right in the belly for Sergeant Howie himself. He is the sacrifice, the one that they've been waiting for. When you watch the movie, it becomes clear why. I can smell the burning from here. Again, I really wish that you guys can smell what we're smelling right now. Very cool, very cool. Here's another shot of the burn marks, this time on the backside of the Wicker Man. Man, it's something else. So right now we're just walking the coastline to the next location, which really isn't that far. But you ready for this? If I turn the camera this way and I look down the coast, past these rocks, right about there is the second Wicker Man burning site. I just love walking these cliffs and these open fields. That and the ocean, I feel like it gives you like this really grand idea of how beautiful all of this really is. At least I hope so. Now for the second Wicker Man burning site, I love that there is a road here because there are behind the scenes photos where they have like these backhoes down here leveling all of this so they can build it. They actually poured concrete. And there are two stumps. They call them the Wicker Man stumps that are still here. Now, sadly, they used to be pretty tall, what was left. Then over the years, from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, all the way to current, people have either chipped away at them, stolen them, withered away, and all that's left is just like these stumps of a stump. It's sad to think that at one point, these stumps were so much bigger. But the fact that this is still here, that you can come and visit, technically you do not even have to stay at the caravan park. But I recommend it. I mean, coming out here and exploring and getting the full Wicker Man experience, it just makes sense, and trust me, it's an amazing experience. You come all the way out here to visit filming locations to the movie The Wicker Man, you have to assume the Wicker Man position. Just hopefully you don't get set on fire. This is awesome. This is awesome. I can't believe we're about to do this. I have a surprise for you and a surprise for Jessica. You see, right now I'm standing on what's called the Giant's Grave, which is the start of the May Day parade. And I had Jessica walk down the path for a little bit. We're gonna recreate the scene. She does not know that I am bringing sticks. You kinda have to, right? It's the Wicker Man. I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but as a fan of the movie The Wicker Man, this is like a dream come true. Get ready. Now this is not perfect by any means, but everything matches up. You can see the part of the hillside that sticks out, as well as the trees. I can't believe we're doing this. And then he keeps turning back and he says, come on, you gotta dance. Not knowing that it's Howie in the full suit. And action. Now, if you didn't know this, Wicker Man technically, I guess you can call it a musical. It has some very interesting musical numbers and dance numbers. Not all of those dance numbers are clothed. We're talking about you, Britt Ekland. And one of the coolest songs that we get is whenever the boys are going around the maypole and you see the cemetery, the kirkyard behind them. So pretty much right where Jessica is standing right now is where the maypole was. And you get this very interesting song. This is as close as we're gonna get to the actual shot in the movie. And you know what? I just wonder if the hole that they dug for the maypole is still there. So pretty much right over where Jessica was standing, she's gonna walk back over there again. We were feeling around with our feet to see if there's any kind of like indentation, and sadly there's nothing. But this is the spot. I mean, it's unmistakable looking at that, as well as like the cemetery gates, the kirkyard gates behind. There just might be an indentation in the ground here. That seems to be about the size of like a maypole, right? Let me put my foot in. Yeah, you can see it. Before we go any further, yes, the schoolhouse that was across the street is real. Directly right across the street from the cemetery. And this is where the girls were during the maypole song and dance scene, if you will. They were in class while the boys were over here, and Howie was walking right down this road, and he just could not believe what he was seeing.
It is the image of the penis, which is venerated in religions such as ours, as symbolizing the generative force in nature. Oh, can I help you?
You are never going to believe where we are standing right now. Well, okay, you probably guessed it. We are inside the schoolhouse. The people who are staying here, because it's now an Airbnb, are kind enough to let us inside to get some shots. And the first shot we get is out the window, where you see Sergeant Howie standing, looking inside. We just did a quick walkthrough of the schoolhouse. And surprisingly, a lot of what's here is still the same from whenever they made the movie. So the kids would have been right over here, the girls sitting at their desks. And if I turn the camera to the right and walk with my back to that window, the steps, they are original. Look at that. You can see the steps as well as that window in this scene. Man, that's cool. But just wait, there's one more thing. The front doors, the French doors, are exactly the same as they were in the movie when Sergeant Howie walks in and he's watching the teacher teach the class and he's like, what is going on here? Man, this is cool. Again, a huge thank you to the folks who are spending the night here at the Airbnb across from the cemetery from Wicker Man. And get this, they actually made these masks and they allowed us to wear them. I kind of want them. Maybe we can like run and take them with us. Nah, this is awesome. This is really, really cool. Baby Goal, we definitely need to get masks like this. Oh, I love it. When Sergeant Howie leaves the schoolhouse, the boys are done with their Maypole song and dance scene. And Howie walks into the cemetery and something catches his eye. Right about where you're standing right now, Baby Goal, there's a tombstone against that stone wall that says, "Here lieth Beach Buchanan, protected by the ejaculation of serpents."
Here lieth Beach Buchanan, protected by the ejaculation of serpents.
He kind of raises an eyebrow and he notices that there's trees on all the tombstones. Well, like on the graves in front of the tombstones. And the groundskeeper comes up and he asks them, whose grave is this? So right about here, against the wall, it's covered in ivy. It looks so overgrown, is the grave, the final resting place, supposedly, of Rowan Morrison. And there's something hanging from the tree. And, well, we find out that it's the navel string. The navel string. Ugh. You know, I realize that some of you have not seen this movie, but it's been out for quite a long time that if you haven't seen it, shame on you, here's some spoilers. They dig up her grave and it's not Rowan. Instead, it's a hare, not a rabbit, it's a hare. It's a very interestingly gruesome, fun scene with a hare. He continues his walk through the cemetery. And I wish that they would have shown him walking through the old kirk. Because there's this really cool arched doorway here, but instead, like the very next shot is him inside the ruins of the old kirk. When we get in there, it's going to start to make sense. We're going to show you another screenshot in just a moment. But just look at this. The church is real. So it picks up right about here with him walking in. It's a really cool scene. Like, I've always wondered if this church was real or not, and it is. If I can be completely honest, I always thought that this skull and crossbones was fake, that there's no way that this could be real. But yet, here it is. And it's larger than life. Definitely one of the coolest things that we have ever seen, and we've been in a lot of cemeteries. Well, would you look at that? We brought an egg, and how fitting, because right here in front of this wall, Howie sees a woman sitting here breastfeeding and holding an egg. It's a very strange, surreal scene. And I'm gonna say right now, I'm actually quite sad, because if you look right here in this shot, there's a white skull that looks like somebody stole. It's gone. Man, that kind of hurts my soul. And then, speaking of things missing from the cemetery, right over here in the corner, there was a cross. That's gone as well. After Howie passes the skull and crossbones and the girl breastfeeding holding the egg, he stops and he makes a cross out of wood. And in doing so, you see this alcove right here, you see this crypt, and then he walks towards the camera. Again, there was like there's something here. And he stops and he picks up 2 pieces of wood and he breaks it and he forms a cross and he lays it down. It's a very cool, kind of like simple scene, but it's striking. Now there's something about this church that most people don't talk about. Now, don't get me wrong, coming here and tracking down where the skull and crossbones is, or even where the woman was holding the egg, is pretty miraculous. But there's something else that was filmed here, or shall I say photographed. Now, with the mindset of tracking down filming locations, in the Green Man pub, there are pictures on the wall of like a yearly photograph of one of the young women in the community standing there amongst the bounty, like the apples, the crates of apples. And each year, the bounty gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And you never really get to see these pictures fully in detail. Well, this book has one of those pictures. Those photos were photographed inside this church, well, inside the ruins. Now, this isn't the exact angle, but from right about here is where these photos were taken. And if we start on the left-hand side, right about there is where that cross would have been. It's a white cross. It is gone. Behind Jessica, you can see like a wrought iron fence. That's the window that we were just filming through. And then you can see that column on that wall right there. Now we're going to show you the exact angle in just a moment, but here's the picture inside the book. In fact, it's the last page, and look how crystal clear this is. I'm going to get in there very close. So there is one of the girls, and you can see the cross that we pointed out that was missing over on the left-hand side, and then that little window right there, that's where we just had the camera set up, where I was on the other side talking about this picture, this setup. And of course, in the movie, Rowan Morrison, her photo was taken off the wall. When it comes to lining up shots here in the cemetery, that's pretty much it for us. But there are a few other little things here that we want you guys to see. While I was lining up shots, Jessica was looking around the cemetery and she found a very interesting tombstone. Basically, we have to walk out and around the old kirk. I think I lost you in the tombstones. Now look at that. That is beautiful. So it's the start of the May Day celebrations, and Sergeant Howie is being lured through the streets of the town, through closes like this, all the way to the church where everybody's getting ready for the May Day parade. All right, so let's paint the picture. Sergeant Howie walks into frame from the right-hand side, and as he's passing this close, he's distracted by something at the far end, which is a guy in a wooden dragon costume making a couple wooden clicks. So this is where the chase begins. Now, to be fair, this entire scene is like all over the place, and they filmed it on both sides of the streets, this way, that way. It's meant to be confusing, and it really is, because they are trying to lure Sergeant Howie to the May Day festival. There is something here, though, that Jessica was able to pinpoint that shows that this is the right alleyway, or the right close is what they call it. Let me show you what I mean. You can see the two-tone buildings on the right-hand side, how it goes from white to brown. Some of the windows, some of the doorsteps, but way down here at the far end is what gives it away. So right here on the right-hand side of the close, you can see like this little wooden structure above the door. You can see that clear as day at the far end of the alleyway while Sergeant Howie's looking down, and then he chases after the guy dressed as a dragon. Now you have to keep in mind that all of this is happening very, very quickly. You blink, you miss it. The very next scene, we see the guy dressed as a dragon running across cobblestone, like a cobblestone street, like a cobblestone alley. The cobblestone is no longer here, instead it's paved. But you see that window that's just to the right of Jessica? You can see that in this scene. It looks like what they did was they turned this little gravel area into the parking lot. You can still see part of the old fencing there, as well as that stone column. And now we get a shot looking down this close where you see the wooden dragon come in from the right-hand side of the screen, and Howie comes running down this close towards the camera because, you know, he's got to catch him. He's not for the tomfoolery. But pay close attention to this sign over here where it says stones, iron stones. You can see that in the movie. And then as well as like this little filigree in the rocks. They filmed these scenes all over the place, up and down these closes. And this next one, you see the wooden dragon kind of running down at the far end of the close. Not like Jessica, but, you know, close enough. And everything matches up. Everything matches up, including this pipe on the left-hand side. You see that little knuckle there. And then at the far end, that slant of that stone building. What's fun about this is all of these scenes were filmed within like a 2-block radius. They're all really, really close to each other, and they all end, well, this entire scene ends at the church, which is directly behind me. And there's something here that is really, really, really cool. Sergeant Howie is lured to this building right here. In fact, the guy in the red dragon costume goes through those doors about the center of your screen. Now, I keep calling it a church, but in real life, this is the old toll booth prison here in town. And it's behind these walls where they're getting ready for the May Day festivities. The surprise I wanted to show you is right here. On the building, there are 2 suns that are water spouts. They were not put here as set dressing for the movie. Symbols of the old gods really do exist. In fact, there are 2 of them, and they're right here on street level, right by the drain. Here, let's get a little closer look at it. Again, they are water spouts. But how cool is this? There's one there, and then right here. Now, what's also fun about this street is this shop right here. By the center of your screen, Jessica's walking right in front of it. This was Mae Morrison's shop. This is where Sergeant Howie walks in to inquire about Rowan Morrison, the disappearance of the girl. The whole reason Sergeant Howie's here on the island.
Good afternoon.
Like your rabbits.
Those are hares. Silly old rabbits. Lovely match hairs.
I really wish it was still an old-fashioned sweet shop.
Right? The store windows are still the same, but instead of sweets, there are paintings and pictures. It's an art gallery now. We were hoping that coming here and doing the Wicker Man filming locations, that we'd be able to stop and visit the Green Man Inn. At least have a bite to eat or something. And if we did, if we could, it would have been this building right here. But here's the thing, this is only where they filmed the exteriors of the Green Man Inn. They actually used 3 different locations for these scenes. And I know what you're saying, it doesn't really add up. I mean, some windows have been taken away and new windows have been added to this building, but I guarantee you this is the exteriors of the Green Man Inn. It's inside this building where we get that wonderful, strange song, The Landlord's Daughter. Moving the camera across the building, you're gonna see the changes. But that door right there is still the same. And then you start seeing where they added windows. Again, there's the front doors. There was a window that was filled in right above them. Oh, that's fun. Almost didn't recognize it. So we know where the exteriors of the Green Man Inn were filmed, but what about the interiors? Now that brings us to this building right here. I'm gonna butcher this, but the Ellengowan Hotel. It's been closed for quite some time, but the bar in the hotel is where they filmed these iconic scenes and the song Landlord's Daughter.
I'm really glad that they included this song because there's all these songs about the hot daughter in all these small villages. It's the fisherman's daughter, it's the butcher's daughter, and in this movie and in this small town, it is the landlord's daughter. Between her left toe and her right toe. That's my absolutely favorite line. It's a silly little ditty, and I laugh every time.
It really is a shame that this place is closed and it looks the way that it does. I would give anything to go inside this place. Just walk around. Looking through the windows, it's like everything has just been stuck in time. I mean, the tables are still set. There's silverware and napkins, and this one even has a table number 5 on it. I just can't stop looking in these windows. See if I can make it a little darker so you can see it. Yeah, it's crazy. Looking through these windows, it just breaks my heart. Look at the state of this place. If you have a keen eye, you can actually see some Wicker Man pictures and portraits on the wall. Well, they're pretty much everywhere. Well, if we can't get inside, at least we can just walk around the property and look in the windows, right? Now this over here has some frosted windows and it actually says bar. So let's get a shot through the bar window, see what it looks like today. Well, looking in, it doesn't look like anything matches up to the way that it once was. So I'm guessing either it's been updated. I mean, it would have to be 1973 is when the movie came out. But this is it. When you watch the movie, you can clearly see almost all aspects of the bar in this scene. And as far as I can tell, looking through the window, nothing really matches up anymore. Around the side here. There's a sign right there that says lounge bar. And then you can see these little like metallic signs on either side of it that say Creetown. Magic always seems to happen. Right now we're inside where they filmed Wicker Man. This is actually the bar. You can see it right over here. We got permission to be inside to just kind of walk around and take it all in because who knows how long this is going to be here, if they're going to tear it down or what they're going to do with it. And there are some really cool things to look at. Again, there's the bar right behind me. It looks a lot different than whenever they made the movie. But let's look around. So right now I'm standing with my back to the side entrance. It's the bar over there. So this place has technically been closed since COVID. It just never opened after that. And the townspeople, everybody wants, something to happen with this place. Somebody to buy it and just kind of fix it up and take care of it. And nobody knows anything. Nobody knows what the plans are. There's the windows that we were looking through. You can see the word bar. Man, this is sad. This is how the bar looks today. Just laying here to rot. But what's really fun about this, you can see above the bar, there's those 8x10s. Those are all pictures from the movie.
I think you all ought to know that I am here on official business. I am here to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. Her name is Rowan Morrison. Would you pass that among your customers, please?
Oh, look at this. The tap. Wicker Man. Here's a closer look at some of the pictures above the bar. Stills from the movie. Remember the red doors from when we were standing outside? Now we're on the inside. And again, we do have permission to be here. Just on the bottom floor where the bar and the dining area is. There's the steps that go up. Wicker Man pictures on the walls. The reception desk. Man, this is crazy. Look at this. It's like something out of a horror film. Basically, the ceiling has been caving in. This is the state of the dining room now. Again, I don't think they filmed anything over in here. It was just over in the bar. You can see the roof caving in. Even though the bar is not the same, just standing here behind the Wicker Man bar is cool, is really cool. Again, who knows how long this place is gonna last. So the fact that we are here right now, even for just a little moment, is amazing. The third location to the Green Man Inn is this building right here, and it's an important one because this is where we get the seductive dance by Willow between her and Sergeant Howie and the tapping on the walls. It's a very, very interestingly sultry scene. So we know this is the right spot because of a lost scene to the movie The Wicker Man, kind of like a deleted scene, if you will, where they show the back. So that's what we got to do. We got to walk behind the building and look up at the second-story windows. When it comes to filming locations to The Wicker Man, I guess technically this one's kind of considered off the beaten path, but it does have a little plaque that talks about the movie being filmed here. Now, what we came here to see are those two windows up there on the second floor. Now, what I mean by lost scene or deleted scene, when you watch the movie, when you see Sergeant Howie kneeling at his bed praying, right before you get the whole dance scene with Willow, there's this whole extended part of it where Christopher Lee, Lord Summerisle, is talking to Willow from the garden. The garden was back here where this garage is. We're going to show it. In that window, she's up there talking to Christopher Lee, and Sergeant Howie leans out to look at her, and you get this really cool shot of both windows, the ones we were just showing. That's what this place is. So 3 locations for the Green Man Inn. This is interiors, but you do get to see outside. So if we step back and look at these windows, that window right there was Willow's room where she did the dance. And then that window right there was Sergeant Howie's room. Again, this scene is between Willow and Lord Summerisle. she's up there in the window and he's down here in the garden. They're having a conversation. Now, sadly, the garden is no longer here. But the scene where he interacts with the snail is right over here where this garage now stands. So at least, you know, the building is still here with the windows. What happens behind those windows on the second floor is an iconic scene to the movie. And if you're a fan of The Wicker Man, you probably already know this, but in case you don't, when you see Willow dancing around and she is naked from the waist up, that is Britt Ekland. When you see the full body version dancing around, that's not her. It's a model that they brought in who's wearing a blonde wig. Britt Ekland wasn't very happy about that, and for years, she refused to even talk about this movie. In fact, when we met her, she signed our poster. I asked her if she would talk on camera like a grim interview, and she politely declined because of that scene. The next stop on our Wicker Man tour brings us to a place known as Castle Kennedy, which is this castle ruins right here. It kind of gives me like Monty Python and the Holy Grail feels, doesn't it? But we are here for the Wicker Man. Now the scene we're looking for, Baby Girl, is the fire dance scene, which is basically a fertility ritual that Sergeant Howie witnesses, and it further disgusts him more because, you know, after all, he has high Christian values and these people are pagans. Actually, what we are looking for is at the far end of the gardens, something that's called the garden terraces, which is this formation in the grass. You can see how it's almost like layers, like a cake. The very top, that is where they filmed the fire jump scene, the fire dance scene, where it was like a fertility ritual. Today, if you come here, there's a really nice swing that overlooks the grounds. And it's basically right where they had the camera whenever they were filming this scene. If I turn the camera over this way, you're going to see Castle Kennedy in the background. But from right about here is where we first see the fire pit, the Stonehenge, and all the scantily clad women. Well, in the movie, it's implied that they're naked, but whenever you look at behind the scenes photos, they clearly are wearing something very small, very skin color. You know what? Let me correct myself. There are pictures where the women are wearing something that's barely there, but there is a lot of nudity in this movie, a copious amounts of nudity in this movie. In so many ways, it's kind of comical. The big dance sequence. Now, behind me, you can see Castle Kennedy right there, and that's important because while this is going on, this jumping over the fire ceremony, Sergeant Howie is arriving to Summerisle's house, and you can see him in the background. I'm going to point it out, and behind him, for like a split second, you can see Castle Kennedy. All right, I think I'm at the center of the terrace, pretty much right where the fire pit would have been. In fact, I'd probably be standing right in the center of the fire pit. Feet would be burning. Now, behind me, once again, you can see Castle Kennedy, and Sergeant Howie would have been coming across this field to Summerisle's house. Now, here's the thing. His house is nowhere near here. It's a completely different area, but they make it look that way. It's Hollywood movie magic. Now, when he gets there, he has a conversation, and he starts asking about what the heck is going on. Why are the girls doing this? Why? It's like against everything he believes in. Basically, it's because of this scene that we get our favorite line in the entire movie, spoken by Christopher Lee, Lord Summerisle. Sergeant Howie's losing his mind seeing the girls naked jumping over the fire, and he asks Summerisle what's going on. And he says that the girls are practicing reproduction without sexual union. And this causes Howie to lose his mind even more. And he says, what are you teaching these girls? Fake religion? Fake biology? Haven't you ever heard of Jesus? And Christopher Lee turns to him and says, he himself the son of a virgin, impregnated, I believe, this is the best part, by a ghost. We do see this place once again, a little bit later on in the movie whenever they have the May Day parade, because it's here above the fire pit where they have the sword ceremony. And then they head down to the beach. And they actually come down this hillside right here because there's a little path that goes into the woods. Now check this out. Knowing what the trees are like in England and Scotland, I was like, wait a second, there are palm trees in this scene. There's no palm trees that I know of in Scotland or England. I'm sure there's somewhere, but not like in the woods. And then we see this. The palm trees that you see in the movie are still here on either side of the walkway. And you can see the parade goers running down through here so excited. You can see them on both sides, left and right. How cool is this? So to the beach we go. And again, we're doing this all out of order, but the beach that they're talking about is the St. Ninian's Cave. We now find ourselves further north in Scotland, visiting a place known as Cilento Castle, which is this building in the center of your screen on the other side of the arch. This was Lord Summerisle's house in the movie The Wicker Man. In the movie, Sergeant Howie would have passed right through those gates that we just showed. And we get a shot of the house from right about here, which is the bridge that leads back to it. You can see the gardens, like the walls and the palm trees. Even though he's arriving by horse-drawn carriage, technically this is a driving scene, so everything happens very quickly. You even see a shot from right about here, including this roof down here at the bottom of your screen. Everything falls right in line. The horse-drawn carriage goes right up this road under this archway. You can actually get a really good shot of it, close up, including the statue that's at the top. It happens very quickly, but this is the arch. Get a good look at it, because it is beautiful. Once through the arch, the carriage turns this way towards the house, and you get a shot from right about here. And it's beautiful. Again, they only use this place as the exteriors for Lord Summerisle's house. But there is one scene that they actually filmed inside the house, and that's what we're hoping to see. We have tickets to go inside for a little bit of a tour. I'm hoping that it's self-guided. So this was the only room in the house that was used in the movie The Wicker Man. The only interior shot. Everything else was outside. But you can see Christopher Lee and Sergeant Howie walking through that door right over there on the other side of the room, past these windows, right over to here.
You're very cynical, my lord.
What attracted my grandfather to the island, apart from the profuse source of wiry labor that it promised, was the unique combination of volcanic soil and the warm Gulf Stream that surrounded it. You see, his experiments had led him to believe that it was possible to induce here the successful growth of certain new strains of fruit that he had developed.
And then right over here on this table was this little like cabinet, and he opens it up and he gets out his apple knife, still having the conversation. And then they walk right out these doors right here. Now here's the fun part. They really didn't do anything to this room. Everything that you see in the movie was here back in 1972 when they made the movie, and it's still here. Well, let me show you what I mean. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt. It's really hard to pick out which one was the one that Christopher Lee opened up, and you can actually see a couple of these in the room today. But this is the same exact cabinet that he pulls the apple knife out of. basically it holds silverware. Right there you can see 2 glass decanters. You can see those in the movie. This piece right here with the ship on it can be seen in the movie as well, but pay close attention to it because the sails are not up. If we were to flip this around, on the other side, it's the same ship with the sails up. That's the side you can see in the movie. Right here on the table, you can see both candelabras in the movie, as well as these little white ceramic pieces. I thought they were like sugar bowls, but I kind of think maybe they hold juice. I'm not entirely sure. But you can at least see one of them in the movie. Even the blue markings on the wall are the same. Oh yeah. Before I forget, we actually get another exterior shot from right about here. What's interesting about this, in the movie you can see the ocean. Today, the trees are so big you can't see past them.
You see, his experiments had led him to believe that it was possible to induce here the successful growth of certain new strains of fruit that he had developed. So, with typical mid-Victorian zeal, he set to work.
So there's a side door that leads out to like a patio, which is where we are right now. In fact, that door that Jessica's walking up to. You see, on the inside of the house, Lord Summerisle and Sergeant Howie are having their conversation. And they're walking through the house, and then they come outside, and they walk over to this white door, which really just kind of leads to nowhere. Oh, the other side of the house. But in this movie, Hollywood Movie Magic, now we're transformed to another place completely different. It's a botanical garden that's like an hour or so away. Talk about movie magic, right? And I have to duck. But how cool is this that Christopher Lee walked through this same doorway that we just walked through? The Wicker Man. On a side note, there's this building right here. We actually get a behind the scenes photo from right about where we are standing. Because this is a deleted scene where Howie is visiting the home of Holly Grimmond. It's here on the property, not too far from the castle. I love that they pretty much filmed everywhere. And with that being said, thank you for joining us on another grim adventure, this time to the world of the Wicker Man. Until next time, happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. A bad luck's always